Orthodox Jews are individuals who steadfastly adhere to Jewish traditions as delineated in the Bible, meticulously observe religious laws, and wholeheartedly devote their lives to the pursuit of prayer and communion with God.
Orthodox Jews abstain from military service even in times of war, refrain from engaging in secular occupations or pursuing monetary gain, and instead rely on government support to cover their fundamental living expenses.
Furthermore, they diligently uphold the observance of the Sabbath, abstaining from the operation of public transportation, and insisting on the closure of government offices and businesses during this sacred day. At the beginning of the founding of Israel, the Orthodox Jewish population was relatively small, so providing basic living costs and not pursuing military service was no barrier. Nevertheless, over the span of approximately 70 years since Israel's foundation, the population of Orthodox Jews has undergone substantial growth, leading to a significant escalation in the social problem concerning basic living costs and military service between Orthodox Jews and the ordinary Jews who came from Europe.
Orthodox Jews give birth to a lot of babies because they do not use birth control or contraception. Basically, when you visit an Orthodox Jewish home, there are often 8 to 10 children and 10 to 12 family members, including parents, living in one house.
The number of Orthodox Jews, which was only 8,000, has increased to 1 million now, 75 years after the founding of the country. The population of Israel, which was only 800,000, has increased 12-fold to the current 9.7 million 75 years after the establishment of the State of Israel.
Of these, Jews account for 73.5% and Arabs account for 21%. Of the 73.5% who are Jews, 12% or 1 million are Orthodox. As the number of Orthodox Jews increases tremendously, dissatisfaction among ordinary Jews continues to rise. The complaint of moderate Jews is that when war breaks out, their young people, that is, their children and friends, are sacrificed, but Orthodox Jews do not even go into the army. Moreover, they complain about feeding 1 million Orthodox Jews with the taxes paid by ordinary Jews. In particular, these complaints are said to be worse among ordinary Jews living in Jerusalem than in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is economically the #1 city in Israel. So there are many people there who make money and pay taxes. But Jerusalem is not an economically dynamic city. Even so, residents of Jerusalem have to pay far more taxes than Tel Aviv residents. The reason for this is that Orthodox Jews live primarily in Jerusalem. Since the people who subsidize the Orthodox Jews are ordinary Jews, the latter run out into the streets to demonstrate and protest in Jerusalem. Ordinary Jews in Jerusalem complain that the state is unfair, and Orthodox Jews should also go to the army.
Ordinary Jews claim that they can no longer feed Orthodox Jews. Now, in the 21st century, tourists flock to Israel from all over the world, but they criticize the fact that the shops are closed on the Sabbath, and the subways and buses do not operate, and how this inconveniences them. Protests are taking place every day on the streets of Jerusalem, asking why tourists who spend money in Israel are leaving.
The protests by Orthodox Jews in response to the protests by ordinary Jews also continue. Orthodox Jews ask ordinary Jews how they can have such worldly actions and words in front of God, saying that they are not even real Jews. They do not want to keep the promises made to each other when Israel was first founded, and ordinary Jews are criticized for breaking them.
Orthodox Jews claim that Israel is a Jewish nation, so it is only natural to observe Jewish traditions and laws. The conflicts between these two camps also appears in dealing with Palestine. Ashkenazi Jews from Europe say that since they have returned after 2,000 years, they should not fight with the Palestinians and instead live together peacefully. Instead of living in terror of a bomb explosion, they would rather recognize the Palestinian nation and live in harmony. However, Orthodox Jews say that their land was given only to the Jews by God, and that the Palestinians are a people that must be driven out of it. There has been no way to resolve this conflict since 1948 until now, over 70 years later. Despite the fact that these conflicts should have been resolved in the political field, the solution will also change depending on which side controls the Israeli government. In 1992, the Prime Minister of Israel was Isaac Rabin, who proposed the two-state solution, saying that Israel should live well with Palestine. That is, recognizing Palestine as a state and recognizing Israel as a state. After listening to Isaac Rabin's opinion, President Bill Clinton invited Yasser Arafat of Palestine to sign the tripartite Oslo Agreement. The world was enthusiastic about this agreement, and Prime Minister Isaac Rabin and Yasser Arafat received the Nobel Peace Prize. However, Orthodox Jews, the ultra-conservatives of Israel, hated this policy and opposed it. Not long after the Oslo Accords came out in 1995, a young man, an Orthodox Jew, pursued Isaac Rabin as he was coming down from his speech and shot and assassinated him with a pistol. Israel was in great turmoil, and the next prime minister after Isaac Rabin was Benjamin Netanyahu, who listened to the Orthodox Jews. Since then, he has been in power as Israel's prime minister for 16 years, and it is said that Israel's Orthodox conservative right wing took power during this period.
In the meantime, Benjamin Netanyahu will step down as prime minister in 2021 over personal corruption allegations. So, two people called Bennett and Lapid, who tried to build a modern country from Europe, came to power to take turns as prime ministers. When the regime changed again, Orthodox Jews also enlisted in the army, and it was said that all Jews should have a job.
And the policy changed so that trains and buses run even on the Sabbath, and homosexuals can work in the government and become ministers or prime ministers. Palestinians were allowed to participate in the cabinet as members of the Israeli government. Even if Palestinian terrorists do terrorism, they are not punished as severely as before.
In particular, it was decided that Jewish settlements in the West Bank should not be built anymore and should be moved out. The government also provides hospitality to Messianic Jews who believe in Jesus in Israel. This radical policy shift, of course, led to strong opposition from Orthodox Jews in Israel, and Prime Minister Bennett and Lapid eventually resigned after a year and a half. Benjamin Netanyahu, who was waiting for an opportunity to make a comeback, proposed to Orthodox Jews that in order to regain power, he must join forces with more powerful ultra-conservative Orthodox Jews than before. In the end, Benjamin Netanyahu, with the help of ultra-Orthodox conservatives, regained power. And many cabinets include the Orthodox conservative Jews.
They are implementing a more stubborn conservative policy than before, and Israel is transforming into an Orthodox conservative country. Not only among the Palestinian people, but also in countries such as Syria and Iran, the resentment toward Israel is increasing, and terrorists such as Hamas are attacking with missiles more. Indeed, many people around the world are concerned about how the relationship between Israel's government, dominated by Orthodox conservatives, and neighboring countries will evolve. Thank you for watching the video, Israel is Dominated by Orthodox Conservatives, Part 2, provided by History and Current Events. Gina, Helena, and Tony have contributed so far as narrators. Thank you.